Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. For this one, I am doing, it's Canadian content time. For Canadian content, I'm going to do some local Canadian content, some Windsor, Ontario Canadian content. And this album has an interesting story as how I came to review it. Myself, Drew, Sean wrote, filming, working on Project 0 Hour Prototype. And one of the locations we were filming at, we ran into a gentleman by the name of Tim. And I believe it's Tim Swaddling. And Tim and Sean actually had worked on some video projects in the past together as well. So they were catching up and reminiscing, and Tim was talking about an album he had recorded and released and how there was vinyl available at one of our local record stores. And, Sean's like, "You got a record player?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a record player." He goes, "So if I pick it up, I can listen to it?" I go, "Yeah, you pick it up, we can listen to it." And, so he picks it up and we listen to it. And the album I'm talking about here is Tim Swaddling Manifests. All right, first off, artwork's pretty cool. I'm going to pop a picture up here. It's easier than trying to flip open the whole thing. And before I get going in here, the first thing I want to mention is I want to mention the lyric pages. I went to go follow. The lyric pages are pretty cool. Pop a picture up of the lyric pages. It's a nice touch to have in here. I went to go follow the lyric pages on the songs, and none of the lyrics are labeled, or none of the lyric pages are labeled as to which song it is. And some is really easy to pick out. Some you got to kind of really pay attention. And I'm going to get into that as I go. Okay, so, anyways, packaging. It's cool, it's fun, I like it. Vinyl is cool, it's fun. This album belongs on vinyl. This is a vinyl album, and I'm going to get into this right now. Right away, this album takes you away to the magical world of Bob Dylan. Now, it's really funny because Tim says that it's him doing his Bob Dylan when he was talking about this album to Sean. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Holy shit, man. In the first 20 seconds of the song, you're like, whoa, this is Bob Dylan, man. And it's not like it's a Bob Dylan impersonation. It's not like it's a Bob Dylan ripoff. It's just naturally the way that he's singing these songs. And when you mix it with the instrumentation that's in there, yeah, man, it's like this album is definitely a folk rock album. And all the instruments are balanced right on this album. That is one thing I will talk about huge about with this album. I don't talk a lot about the instrumentations. I'm going to be completely honest. I've only listened to this album twice. And I would, if I had it on CD, or if I get around to hooking my my record player up to my computer so I can rip it that way, maybe I'll have a copy of it. But that's the problem, is I need a ripped copy so I can digitally listen to it, which with this album, I would definitely listen to this album if I had a ripped copy a lot more often. But this album instrumentally is great the whole way through. There's great instrumentation. Some songs I know I mention it in my notes here as I go through, and other songs I don't mention it at all. The whole way through, the instrumentation basically is what you would find in a folk rock and rock emphasis, like Bob Dylan, honestly, Bob Dylan, that 60s Bob Dylan folk rock period where you got both that bluegrass country like instrumentation, Nashville kind of vibe in there, but you still got some of that rock energy in there. You know what I mean? You get some of that honest to goodness 60s fuzzed out rock guitar going on in there, some good at rock riffing, but it's not really a rock album. And as much as I keep talking about Bob Dylan, Jack White solo work, also very good idea representation wise of what you would hear on here. So if you like Bob Dylan from the old days, or if you like Jack White from the nowadays, you would really dig on this album. And okay, so now that I've praised the hell out of this album, let me just get into the actual songs here, okay? So, I did mention that right after the beginning that, what you notice, and that's on the song Time to Go. Now, Time to Go kicks off this album great. It's got this wonderful energy vibe. It's everything you need in a first track of an album, okay? Because it sets you up and it gets you going and it keeps you going. And it's just great, great energy. And as I mentioned with the balancing, so harmonica is all over this album. So right away, and it's good harmonica. I don't know who's playing what on this album here. I don't have. I'm sure if I really went digging and looking through all the notes here, I could figure out everybody. I'm sorry, I'm not going to. My apologies to all the musicians. I'm just not doing it. Harmonica is fantastic on this album, so all props to whoever it is playing the harmonica throughout this album. They know what they're doing. They really, really know what they're doing. And harmonica, for anybody that's a first time watcher or whatnot, harmonica was the first instrument I ever learned how to play. So I got a little love for that little wood instrument, man. I like to blow on the harp. Okay. And then the bass and the drums, this whole entire album, but on this first song, it sets it up. It lets you know they're balanced right. The drums sound. I hate when drums are pushed too far forward in a mix. I'm a drummer. Drums on some songs should be pushed forward in a mix. I've definitely been guilty of doing mixes where I push the drums too far forward and then I've scaled them back in later remixes and stuff like that. It happens. But I've also had times where, like I would pull the drums back in a mix and the lead guitarist would be like, no, put them up. I want to hear them more. So it happens. This album, the whole way through, the percussion and the bass is perfectly balanced. You can always hear it beautifully, even with everything else that's going on in there. It works great. All right, from there we go on to the song "Little Timmy." This one has musically vibe, the tone, the essence, everything. It has a really sexy, sultry kind of vibe to it. It really kind of just gets you into a dirty kind of little groove. But the subject matter is rather a little bit dark. This is where I discovered the whole lyric thing, because I went to go find the lyrics, and then I found the lyrics for Little Timmy. And then I got lost trying to figure out where I was. I was looking for the lyrics like halfway through the song. I was like, man. And I never got that whole reading the lyrics in time with the song kind of thing worked out. And I was sober, man. I wasn't even token away, Okay. Either way, I really like Little Timmy. Good tune. Really. I like this lyrically and musically, the way it all works together. This one definitely, while it has more of that old school kind of vibe to it, kind of goes more into the Alice Cooper vein with it. I really kind of dig on it. Real Gone follows that up. This is basic kind of riding the rails kind of vibe. If you've ever heard songs that are about, riding the rails, going down the rails, boxcar rails, anything, just kind of going down that track. Now, this does not go at that speed. It's more like, kind of, slower tempo a little bit, but you're still, you can clearly, you got that going down the track kind of vibe going the whole way through in this one. And this is one of those grooves I really love, long as it's not used and abused. This works perfectly on this album. It fits into place properly. I really just kind of dig it. Next up, we got the C&O Don't Stop Here Anymore. This finishes off side one. This is a slower track with a steady build in the music tension. So what I mean by that is, instrumentally, it starts off just, one or two lightly playing instruments. And gradually the instrumentation is building up in it. It's not that the music builds up. It's not that there's going to be any type of weird crescendo that it's building to. It's just that there's a music tension as the instrumentation layers on and layers on and layers on and plays and moves within it. And it's just Really, really cool. It's kind of a somber way to close off the first side of the album, but it does it in a hauntingly beautiful way, and that haunting is pun intended when you go and listen to it. I really do dig this song. It's interesting, the idea that it's capturing a vibe of a train not, this train not stopping in this place, and kind of almost like, you can almost hear that it's kind of becoming a ghost town, but you don't really hear it becoming a ghost town musically until it builds up. At the beginning it's just kind of quiet and somber, like that one person left telling this story, you know stuck there after the train stopped showing up, and it just kind of builds and builds. Dig it, dig it. Now, this is not what I'm talking about lyrically either. I'm not saying this is what's in the lyrics. This is what I am saying I hear when I'm listening to the music. All right, moving on. So then we're on to side two. Rollin' On kicks this off, and this one kind of has. I was trying to think of the right way to describe the vibe of the music on this song, and I want to kind of say ragtime kind of vibe to it. But what it really kind of reminded me of, and when I say it reminded me of, I'm not saying it sounded like, it's just there's an essence and a vibe to it, is, like those 60s out in the boonies kind of, not even necessarily out in the boonies, but, like those country kind of bumpkin, I hate to use that term, but I'll explain in a second. When you talk, the theme music for those sitcoms, like Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, that kind of vibe where, I want to call it kind of ragtime-ish because of the way that the tempo's upbeat and kind of moving and whatnot, but it's not really ragtime, sort of. That's the best way I know how to describe this song. And it's a great way to pick the tempo back up the whole way through. Like if you weren't listening, if it wasn't for the fact I just had to go and switch over the vinyl and everything like that. Great way to pick up the album again, gets it going again, gets it moving, and I really dig that about this. From there, we get into The Devil's Tale. Okay, this is a great old school blues theme. Every band has jammed on the core riff of this song, okay? Every band has. And for a musician to, in this day and age, record using this core riff, you really got to have something good playing on it. It's really got to be impressive. And you can argue, well, that's what the lyrics are for. No, 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 no. Because this is more or less your basic, like the most basic fundamental blues riff, boom, 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 kind of thing, right? And that's not exactly it, but that basic kind of every musician, like this is, every musician learns how to play this riff early on because it's so easy to do kind of thing. Like it's just your basic blues core riff, okay? I made this point clear. If I haven't, you're on your own. All right. The thing is Tim takes this, and with all the instrumentation and everything else going on in this one, and the way it's played and layered through and mixed and everything like that, it is great. I've never been able to get a recording of something like this where I enjoyed it. I mean, I jammed and jammed and jammed. A band that I played in, if you ever go listen to stuff online, a lot of it is jamming. And we were a jam band we were a live jam band by all intents and purposes. And even we never recorded anything using this core fundamental riff where I ever thought it was worth anything more than going, hey, look, we screwed around on that riff tonight. Because it just wasn't that impressive. This is really good, and I really dig The Devil's Tale, man. Honestly, The Devil's Tale may be my favorite song on this album, just because Tim does it so well with the musicians that he's working with on this one. From there, we go into South Street Blues, and this is an album gear shift from one type of blues to another type. So The Devil's Tale's got that older, kind of slowed down, kind of kind of vibe, right? This one goes more into a up-tempo rock and blues. So it's kind of there's a specific Beatles song that it makes me think of, but I can't put my finger on the song. It really sounds the same, but this one really tears it up. Like this is this high speed blues just kicking in, when rocks are mixing in there, kind of Johnny B. Good kind of vibe. It's not Johnny B. Good. Let's be clear. Um, and I'm not saying that as a shot against the song. I'm saying is like it's got that up tempo like Johnny B. Good, but it doesn't sound like Johnny B. Good. Like I said, I really wish I could think of which Beatles song it is. It really reminds me of. But this song is a great transition move in this album because you're still perfectly within that blues realm. Okay, you're not shifting out of blues. Devil's Tale, true blues. This one, South Street Blues. I was kind of surprised because I was waiting. As I was writing down notes and I was getting ready to do this, I was getting ready to make a joke about how we went from a blues song to a song that's just got blues in the title. No, this one's actually a blues tune. It's just a great shift to a different dynamic of blues. And it really works and it really kind of lifts the album back up again, which is interesting because the lift up it does, it really kind of then takes a back seat on the next song. Like it really actually causes the next song to seem slower than it is. And it's really interesting because the next song is Burned. And this is the last song on the album. I love that there's only 8 tracks on this album. They're all kind of stretched out a little bit, but they all get instrumental explorations on them. Every last track on this album has instrumental explorations on it, okay? And it's a multitude of instruments really getting to play out. It's got the great old school kind of vibe where it's not just one solo going on, not just your guitar solo, Junior. Sometimes you gotta share the stage with the other musicians, okay? So, it's great where you get to hear, in this case, it's a little more fiddle, a little less violin. Oh, actually, no. Good mix of fiddle playing style versus violin playing style. Harmonica is always kind of going off the whole album there, I guess. So it's really good. But where I'm going with Burned is being the last song on the album. It's, first off, it's got a slow burn the whole way through, and that's both pun intended and not intended. I mean, like, this is a really slow burn song. And it's crazy slow burn. Like, I mean, normally this is the type of song I might complain that feels like it's super freaking long, like too long, but it never feels that way because the instrumentation in it keeps me captivated and interested the whole way through. And the whole way through, this is a really good song. And it's really funny because if you're one of my regular viewers, you know how I feel and how much the last song on an album matters to me. And this song is really the slowest song on the album, and it is so slow that it puts it into that ground where it starts to become unappealing to me because of its slowness. But it's a perfect closer to this album, man. And it's only my personal issues with slower songs that really kind of takes away from this for me. But it's perfect on this album. It closes this album out perfectly. This album is really a top-notch album. I do not know where you can find this album. I recommend this album, man. If you are into, once again, if you like Bob Dylan, this is a great album. Oh my God, this is a great album if you like Bob Dylan. If you like Bob Dylan even a little, this is a great album. If you like Jack White, this is a great album. So, if you're into that, this is a great album. If you're into that kind of music that those two kind of tend to revolve around in those particular styles, this is a great album, man. This has got that Nashville country, rock, blues, all put together kind of thing. Beautifully done. I mean, it's really impressive to hear this done this well, especially in the city of Windsor. And I really think that this album needs to be supported. So I will try to see what I can do down in the comments or in the write-up section about getting information on there. There's what is it? RoseCityRecords.com and TimSwaddling.com. Okay, so check those out. Maybe hopefully you can pick up the album that way. I highly recommend it, or I'll give you information on how to get the album. Get it. It's worthwhile. This is Sean's copy. I might have to go and buy my own copy, possibly, just so I have my own copy, because, one day Sean won't have his copy readily available for me. Gonna have to look at getting MP3 versions made as well, so I can put it on my computer, so I can actually listen to it when I'm on, walking around doing my thing. Anyways, folks, so yes, this is Tim Swaddling Manifests, and I like the title too, because talking to Tim as briefly as I did, he was like, "This is just I wanted," because I said I was impressed that he went viral. He goes, "Man, that's just what I always wanted to do." So Tim always wanted to do this, and he manifested it. It manifests. All right, folks. That's it. I'm done. Comment section. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications. Link below goes to the Patreon. You can throw me some money that way. Peace. Love. Take care.